I will describe in detail the 6th verse of Part 6 of Rasaratnakara, Rasayankhand. When we look at these historical texts, it is so easy to get completely lost in the sheer volume of information. But today we're decoding this incredibly dense alchemical artifact to uncover the fascinating and, honestly, sometimes extreme lengths ancient practitioners went to in their quest to conquer human aging. Let's get right into it.
Here's a quick look at our roadmap for this explainer. We'll start with Section 1, the ancient artifact. Then Section 2, mapping the index. Section 3 covers the pursuit of rejuvenation. Section 4 is the master of Mercury. And finally, Section 5, historical botanical formulations.
All right, starting things off with Section 1, the ancient artifact.
So the text we're diving into is the 1939 Haridas Sanskrit series publication of Sri Nityanatha Siddha's work. More specifically, this is the 4th part of the Rasaratnakara, which is known as the Rasayankhand. It was published in Benares, and that really roots our exploration in a very specific era, a time when ancient compiled wisdom was finally being formally preserved in print. This is going to be our anchor point for everything that follows.
You'll notice right away how incredibly dense the double-column Sanskrit format is. I mean, there is virtually zero negative space here. This definitely wasn't meant to be light bedside reading. It was a highly compressed, highly technical manual for serious practitioners. Literally every single line is packed with procedural knowledge. And our goal today is to cut right through that dense wall of text and pull out the structural brilliance hiding just beneath the surface.
Moving on to Section 2, mapping the Rasayankhand. The text uses a visually overwhelming section called the Vishwamaryaam. Basically, it's an intricate index that serves as a roadmap to the book's various chapters or Upanishads. What's really cool is how neatly categorized this is. It breaks down these vast, sprawling alchemical sciences into specific, digestible chapters. It really proves that this wasn't just some random collection of magic spells, right? It was a highly systematized scientific endeavor for its time.
The whole structure of the text illustrates a really profound logic. It moves systematically from basic bodily purification all the way up to extreme alchemical recipes. So starting with the Prathamopadesha, you have to detoxify the human body first. You simply cannot put these intense alchemical substances into an unprepared vessel. It just wouldn't work. Only after that foundation is laid does the text move into complex formulas, and then later on, the really intense processing of mercury.
That brings us to Section 3, the pursuit of rejuvenation.
Now keep in mind, we're exploring historical beliefs here rather than modern science, understanding that Rasayana and Dehasiddhi were the absolute ultimate goals of these ancient practitioners. Rasayana wasn't just some medicine to cure a common cold. It was considered the science of deep cellular rejuvenation. And Dehasiddhi? That was the dream of achieving a perfected, totally flawless physical body that actually resisted decay. Think of it like the ancient version of biohacking, aimed at drastically extending the human lifespan.
In fact, the author immediately establishes this grand purpose of Dehasiddhi before even detailing those mandatory preliminary bodily purifications required prior to doing any actual alchemy. The text is essentially saying, hey, here's the incredible goal we're striving for, and here's the grueling physical purification you absolutely must endure just to begin the journey. It sets some incredibly high stakes right there from the opening pages.
Next up is Section 4, the master of Mercury.
So, ancient alchemists viewed parada, which is mercury, not as a modern toxin, but as a divine substance that required rigorous purification to unlock its supposed rejuvenating powers. Now, obviously today, we know mercury is highly toxic, but back then, in the context of this artifact, it was seen as the literal essence of transformation. The belief was that if you could somehow master and tame this wild, volatile, shifting metal, you could actually transfer its eternal, unchanging properties directly to the human body. Because of that, an immense volume of verses here are dedicated purely to parada marana, which translates to the extreme measures of killing or calcining mercury to render it theoretically safe for human use. They definitely didn't just ingest it raw. Instead, they subjected it to incredibly complex, highly repetitive cycles of burning, grinding, and treating it with various plant juices. The goal was to strip away its toxic nature and harness its pure energy. And instead of getting bogged down translating individual Sanskrit verses right now, we can actually distill their incredibly complex methodology into 4 conceptual steps. First, sourcing the raw metal. Second, a rigorous ritual purification. Third,
the intense calcination phase, and finally, amalgamation into actual medicine. It was a highly technical, multi-stage manufacturing process. I mean, it must have required immense skill, unbelievable patience, and a really deep understanding of how natural elements reacted with one another.
Which leads us nicely into Section 5, Historical Botanical Formulations.
The dense blocks of text in this section are actually specific, highly intricate recipes combining that process mercury with vast quantities of botanicals. These are step-by-step instructions for creating vadikas, which are medicinal pills, along with various rasas, or formulations. The key takeaway here is that heavy metals were rarely, if ever, used alone. They were almost always suspended within this elaborate matrix of plant materials designed to guide the medicine in the body and kind of buffer its sheer intensity.
Honestly, the staggering complexity of these ancient pharmacies is just so fascinating. Practitioners were out there using specific plant roots and leaves, really unique earth salts, clarified butter, and sulfur to create complex chemical reactions long before anything resembling modern chemistry even existed. It really demonstrates a profound level of observational science. They knew exactly which plants would react with which minerals to achieve a very specific desired state, even if their philosophical framework for why it worked was totally different from ours today.
Reaching the culmination of the text, this artifact ultimately serves as just an incredible window into an ancient, highly structured human ambition to completely conquer aging. What we've seen today isn't just some loose collection of old myths. No, it's a meticulously documented system of trial, error, and immense, unwavering dedication. The layout, the index, the step-by-step procedures, it all points to a civilization striving for the absolute limits of human potential, utilizing whatever materials they had available to them.
As this fascinating intersection of history, extreme alchemy, and human ambition shows us, the quest for physical perfection has always pushed us to the absolute edge of our capabilities. It makes you wonder, when future archaeologists look back at our modern biohacking, our genetic therapies, and our experimental anti-aging regimens, what on earth will they consider our version of Parata Marana? I'll leave you with that thought. Thank you for joining me on this explainer, and as always, keep questioning the science of the past, present, and future.